Ano po ang gagawin ninyo iba para maiwasan yung ganitong sitwasyon na mangyari ulit ever again?
Nag-worry lang po ang kaibigan nyo, baka mahirapan kayong mag-adjust. Ngayon po, open na po kayo ngayon. You will be pressured by political players.
Mastery of law is unquestioned, but you have very little experience in the executive branch. Is there a timeline for filling in these vacancies? Because we are all getting impatient. Pakisabi sa ading ko.
I move to recommend to the plenary session of the Commission for the confirmation of the ad interim appointment of Mr. Lucas Puruganan as Bersamin as Executive Secretary, Office of the President.
Mr. Chairman and members of this August Commission on Appointments, good morning. Last September 27, 2022, President Marcos designated me to be his executive secretary in an acting capacity. He later on formally nominated me for your confirmation as soon as the Congress resumed sessions. Since then, I have been discharging the duties and responsibilities of the executive secretary by addressing the problems and requirements of a new administration with a huge popular mandate. The daunting trust reposed in me by the President has remained foremost in my mind every day. I thank you, therefore, for this opportunity to submit myself to your scrutiny and confirmation as the Executive Secretary. As of today, I have served in government for a total of 36 years. 33 of those years were spent as a judicial officer. I started my public service on November 5, 1986, when I was appointed presiding judge of the Regional Trial Court in Quezon City. I was then only 37 years old. After nearly 17 years in the RTC, I was promoted to the Court of Appeals, where I served a full 6 years. I was elevated to the Supreme Court on April 2, 2009, and I sat as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court until November 27, 2018. I assumed as the 25th Chief Justice of the Philippines on November 28, 2018. I compulsorily retired from the judiciary last October 17, 2019.
First of all, I'd like to make of record my full support to the appointment of the confirmation of ES Bersamin. But as a friend for years, that dates back probably since my appearance in his sala some 25 years ago when he was judge of RTC in Quezon City, I feel that I need to ask a few questions, sir. Mr. Secretary, you were trained, as you have said, in or you have been exposed in government for 36 years, 33 of which were spent in the judiciary. Alam naman po natin sa Judicial Department, as a judge or even a magistrate for that matter, the highest magistrate of the Supreme Court, you need to shield yourself as much as possible from the public because of the very nature of the work that you do as a member of the judiciary. Meron po tayong mga self-imposed, kayo po mga judges and magistrates, self-imposed standard like the code neutrality of an impartial judge. That made you a little bit socially aloof. Talaga namang ganun po. Para walang masabi po yung public. And then there is another rule that naturally shielded you from the public in general. Ito po yung ating sub judice rule. Wala pong pwedeng mag-comment sa inyo, walang mag-advise sa inyo. if anybody dares to do that, there's always that content na pwede niyong ibigay sa kanila. Sinasabi ko po ito dahil sa talagang ganun naman ang nature ng trabaho ninyo. Medyo nagwo-worry lang po ako ngayon sapagkat ngayon po executive secretary na kayo. Iba na po yun eh. Wala na po kayong shield ngayon. The political pressures, yung partisan activities po ay di po ba kayo mahirapan mag-adjust? Kasi sabi nga ni Senator Risa kanina, yung symbolism, totoo naman po yun eh. It is very hard to shed off na talaga naman kayo ay naging Chief Justice ng ating bansa. So nagwo-worry lang po ang kaibigan nyo, baka mahirapan kayong mag-adjust from an aloof and shielded personality that kept you because of the nature of your job. Eh ngayon po, open na po kayo ngayon. You will be pressured by political players. Sir, you have to assure us na hindi po kayo mahirapan mag-adjust. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Napakaganda po yung inyong anong. Madali po sa akin yan dahil kahit po nung nandun ako sa leadership ng judiciary, ang IQ hindi ko masyadong kinailangan. Ang kinailangan ko masigit yung EQ. Ang EQ po kailangan na kailangan sa ganitong posisyon ng executive secretary dahil maraming sektor, maraming tao ang kailangan makalapit sa iyo at makausap mo. Matuto ka na magresponde sa mga pangangailangan ng taong bayan. I can promise everyone here, especially Congressman Dante, that I will remain the same person, approachable, accessible, but above all, decent about these needs of the public. I can assure you that.
Yun pong ating bansay naharap ngayon sa napaka-peligrosong sitwasyon. This is brought about not by the local conditions, but more of external factors. The Ukraine crisis, yung disruption of the food chain, supply chain, and the scar that resulted from the pandemic, result of the pandemic. Ang resulta po, Mr. ES, ay soaring prices of food commodities sa ating bansa as manifested by the headline inflation of about 7.7% sa nakaraang buwan po, which now magnifies even our people problem about hunger and malnutrition. Some sectors po, Mr. ES, are urging the President because of the need for food production and food security that we must already appoint a permanent secretary for the Department of Agriculture so that the President can focus on more important agri issues as the leader of this country. Will you also support that position that the President should already consider appointing a permanent but qualified Secretary of Agriculture, Mr. ES?
Yes, actually the President is seriously considering several people to appoint on a permanent basis or regular basis to represent or administer the DA portfolio. But he has not yet signified to us that he is ready to announce his decision. But for now, he is addressing all these problems together with the cabinet, particularly those that are relevant to food production and food security. So the DA is being handled on a daily basis by an undersecretary who has experience, and the President and our office also monitors very closely the activities there. That's all I can say at this time, Congressman Dante.
Salamat po. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. That should be all.
Magandang umaga po, ES.
Magandang umaga din po.
Salamat po. So, just a few policy questions. First, on the sugar fiasco. During the committee hearings regarding the sugar fiasco, it was apparent that the officers or officials involved had conflicting claims and interpretations as regards to what had transpired when SO4 was signed by reason of miscommunication among the officials involved. Ano po ang gagawin ninyo iba para maiwasan yung ganitong sitwasyon na mangyari ulit ever again?
Ang tingin ko po sa mga nangyari ay talagang miscommunication. And since we came to this position, we made sure that this will never happen again by requiring complete staff work ordinarily. And complete staff work at that time might have avoided this confusion and miscommunication. Right now, we do not anymore tolerate the lack of coordination that happened here. And I have imposed upon everyone not to assume or presume that the President already approves a certain act until and unless I or my senior Deputy Executive Secretary have signified the approval. This is to avoid the unnecessary presumptuous action taken in that fiasco.
Salamat po. Bukod po sa mga nabanggit nyo na meron pa po bang mga rules at saka procedures in place pagdating po sa mga official communications, particular po sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng mga video conferencing platforms, mga emails, mga phone calls, at mga SMS messages?
Yes, actually, we have instituted this documentation process where the respective handlers of its communication is given primary responsibility for ensuring that the communication is given to the proper office via proper channels, because that is the only way to ensure the accountability in the handling of important communications like this. So right now that is being strictly enforced in our jurisdiction.
One of the issues raised under the previous executive secretary was the slow rollout of the appointments to key government agencies such as DOH and other priority areas. How do you intend to resolve this matter? Because much has been made of the fact that you have had an extensive career in the judiciary, so that your mastery of law is unquestioned, but you have very little experience in the executive branch. For example, under Memo Circular 3, the authority of OICs is only until December 31 of this year. So far, how many appointed posts which are classified as coterminous are still vacant? How many CESO positions are still occupied by non-CESO? Is there a timeline for filling in these vacancies? Because we are all getting impatient. Pakisabi sa ading ko.
There's a group already looking into it.
Yeah, okay. The Office of the Executive Secretary right now, ma'am, is carefully studying this situation because we have a self-imposed deadline for considering all these coterminous employees. That is on December 31 this year. But the President has a good heart, and he has instructed us to be as kind and as generous to those who may be affected. We share the same compassion, and we are actually devising a way of absorbing as many as we can. Now, as to the other appointments, like appointments to important positions, we do accept that there were problems that we had, particularly because when I and my senior deputy executive secretary came into the positions that we hold, we did not have the benefit of a transition or turnover of papers that were already submitted to the office. Yes, we did a lot of digging into these documents until we found them, because we were always readily blamed by the respective cabinet secretaries about this slow pace of appointments. But that was never intentional. We are correcting this issue now. We are slowly creeping up, but we have an instruction to our staff to do complete staff work to avoid misfits getting into positions that we can no longer unravel. Good morning, Mr. Senate President. So I will assure you that everything is slowly being placed into proper order, ma'am. Makakaasa kayo niyan.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm certain that the good justice, now the executive secretary, has confronted quite a few challenges in this matter. Nevertheless, you have repeated the word slowly 2 times, which causes grave alarm. What are we doing to speed up the process in reconstructing these records?
We impose the requirement of submission of clearances from the NBI. If the applicants are former government employees, they have to submit also civil service clearances and ombudsman clearances. And that lengthens the processing, because we have had this unfortunate experience, very few, where the appointees were unworthy or turned out to have been charged with so many cases in the courts or administratively. That's what we avoid, because what we want to avoid, because that embarrasses the president and the administration. So the length of time that is added to this may not be much, but the volume of the applicants simply must be also attended to. We are going to that, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much to our former Chief Justice and now our Executive Secretary. I am certain that you can get a handle on this situation, but it is almost half a year now, and the people expect a level of urgency and commitment to filling up all these positions, some of them very high and of urgent priority. So I believe, Mr. Chairman, that the Honorable Bersamin is well qualified and endorse his appointment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
At this point, I would like to acknowledge the presence of no other than our Senate President Juan Miguel